People look at stories through different lenses. I have my own take on some of these trending issues. Hi, I'm Mariah and welcome to In Case You Missed It. Hello and welcome to In Case You Missed It on SportsMax and CEEN TV. Well, earlier this month, Cricket West Indies announced the appointment of 3 women to the CWI board as independent directors, marking a historic milestone for gender diversity and inclusion within the organization. Ms. Diane Campbell and Mrs. Louise Victor Frederick joined as new appointees, while Mrs. Deborah Coryat Patton returned to the board. Well, joining me today, and it's my pleasure to be able to chat with Mrs. Louise Victor Frederick. Welcome to In Case You Missed It, Louise, and congratulations on this latest appointment. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Maria. Thank you for the invitation, and I'm thrilled to be here.
Right, and how much of an honor is it to be called to serve in this capacity as an independent director?
Honestly, it's beyond words. Right now, I have been a fan of the game. I'm a daddy's girl, so growing up, cricket was near and dear to my heart. Those early mornings of my dad waking up, and so I've always had this affinity and love for the game as well as for Cricket West Indies on a whole. And so for it to come full circle in this way, I really do feel truly honored and humbled. But I'm eagerly excited about the perspectives that I could bring to the board and to the organization, given my personal as well as professional experiences.
Right, and you spoke about waking up early mornings and watching cricket with your dad. And of course, I can understand that fully well. I also come from a household where my family is obsessed with cricket. What did Dad say when he saw the appointment and of course realized that you have the opportunity, Louise, to make a difference?
Yes, he was. I don't think he had the word. I had kind of hinted to him and my mom. And when the news officially were pronounced, when I actually sent it, he called me during my lunchtime, and he's like, "Oh, Daddy's just so proud." He was literally lost for words. Interestingly, I am named after him, so he's Louis Victor Luis.
Right.
And so, as an only girl, we do share a very special bond. So he is beaming with pride, and as always, he believes that I will make a positive contribution in no matter whatever way that I serve. And so I'm hoping to, not just live up to his expectations, but to President Kishore as well as the rest of the members of the board and by extension, the West Indies. I think that, the brand Cricket West Indies it has such a strong legacy. And so that responsibility comes with a little bit of pressure.
Yeah.
But no doubt something that I am definitely up for.
Yeah, and I think this is a perfect time in Louise because we're in a World Cup year and St. Lucia will be hosting some of the matches. And I think, what a perfect match because you get to be in this role. And I know it's a one-year rule, but in a time like this, you must be beaming.
Definitely. In fact, just last week, Friday, during the trophy tour, it was so lovely to be part of it. I'm so familiar with everybody on the team locally. And so to be present in my capacity as director felt very special.
Yes.
As well as connecting with some of the Cricket West Indies staff members as well on the ground, having communicated by email for the last few weeks, but to hold their hands and to give them hugs, it definitely feels very different. And I know that St. Lucians are looking forward to the World Cup games. In fact, just on the weekend, I had someone tell me that for the first time, she's turning 50, and she told me, "I've never been to a cricket game, but your appointment makes me feel very interested and intrigued and somewhat inspired. So guess who's going to be going to the World Cup games?" And it's like, let me see what Louis is involved with. And so that even those moments are very profound in the way that the mere placement of a young woman on a board, how that could spark and inspire other people to just take action in very small ways, in as simple as patronizing the game in a way that they never had before.
Yeah, I think it's really inspirational. I was delighted by the news when it came out. And of course, I have to ask you though, because it sounds nice having women on the board, but it does come with a lot of responsibility, a lot of expectations, and a lot of work. So what will you be required to do in this capacity? Like, what are some of the duties?
Well, as the director, the focus is on the strategic direction of the organization, as with any other um, board appointment. I do feel pressured in the sense that this is Cricket West Indies. However, I do not necessarily feel as pressured because this is not my first time serving on a board at that level. I have served at all the levels nationally.
Yeah.
At board level. So I if anything, I feel equipped with some of the experiences that I've had with relevant decision making, strategically thinking of where we want to advance an organization um, in terms of developmental work, but also that balance of what are the commercial opportunities for the organization, but as well as for the brand. And for me, with a background in branding and communication specifically, I hope to be able to contribute more specifically and more targeted in that way. But even learning on some of my previous experiences in terms of marketing and cricket, having been a former Digicel marketing and communications executive, and seeing how the CPL brand came to life and how that was activated and just almost permeated throughout the Caribbean, I think I also have some valuable insights and experiences that could lend to how we advance the brand as well as the organization strategically.
Yeah, and as you speak about the CWI brand, West Indies cricket is in a class of its own because everybody thinks about the winning days, Louise, and that time. And I always hear the stories. It's unfortunate that I have never get to live that experience. Thankfully, the women are making me a bit happy with Haley Matthews doing her thing. But I always, when I'm on the show on the SportsMax Zone, I always say to my co-host that, I've never got the opportunity to see the men go back to winning ways. So it brings me back to my question about the branding. Do you think you'll have a lot of work to get the CWI brand where you want it to be?
Well, firstly, it's definitely not a single-handed role or job. I think branding is so much about understanding your stakeholders, understanding where they are psychologically. The visuals, they will always appeal in one way or another to various audiences. But I think once we're able to understand psychologically where are our stakeholders, who are our allies, who are our antagonists, who are our protagonists, I think that is always the first step. But more so, how do you leverage the memory that resides in so many West Indians that, the glory days of Cricket West Indies.
Yes.
But do glory days look a bit different now? Because like you said, our women are doing great work and inspiring in so many ways. And so I think we probably do need to, in as much as we are looking back and reminiscing, what do we have currently that we can leverage in telling our story of what glory currently looks like now for Cricket West Indies?
Yeah.
But more so, does glory also mean at this point stepping back and recognizing what are the immediate opportunities as well as what are the medium and long term? And in fact, I think given the cricket symposium that will be happening in Trinidad over the next 2 days, I think that is literally the type of opportunities that we should be maximizing on to be able to really find or define what we want the brand to look like, or what we want it to evolve into, or what we want it to almost pull back on, and whether we want it to be more intimate or whether we want it to evolve in a way that we haven't seen. I think there are so many opportunities in terms of technology as well as sustainability. How do those conversations become part of our decision making as Cricket West Indies, as a board, but as well as operationally? So I think there's just so much that we can do, and I'm excited to just contribute in whatever way that can make an impact.
Yeah, I'm excited also to see, how the appointment goes. One of the points, though, that was outlined in the press release posted by CWI right after the women were appointed, and I know there's also a man that will serve in the capacity as director as well. They said, this was a historic milestone for gender diversity and inclusion within the organization. Your thoughts on that, and how important is it that more women occupy roles such as these? And it's no secret, Louise, for some time, women never held roles like this. So how important do you think it is?
Diverse views are so important in terms of, we live in such a rapidly evolving world, and to continue to make decisions in a very narrow or very focused way can sometimes hurt organizations, and we've seen it. And I think that, some people think that, gender diversity is simply about ticking a box. I think that Cricket West Indies sincerely recognizes the importance of that type of diversity. Again, to evolve the brand, to evolve the organization in ways that we probably have not yet tapped into. I think it is truly not just historic, but it can create a shift. Because when you even look at the backgrounds of the women who are joining, as well as the age ranges, I am only 33, but I think that in itself can be an asset to the boardroom, because again, there are some relevant, some ongoing experiences that I may be right in the middle of that could inform or give a different perspective in a way that maybe a boomer or a Gen X has not realized.
Yeah, and in this appointment, right, it runs for 1 year. Louise, in this time, what do you hope to achieve personally?
1 year is such a short time, but I think I'm truly looking forward to what the opportunities are or could be within this World Cup space. I think coming off of two of our previous victories, how do we leverage that story of, hey, this is what brought us here, and this is how we are going to move forward. I think it is such a unique story to have had Darren then as captain, but now to have him as head coach and to feel so confident in his team. I think these are the type of stories that will be able to connect us with our key constituents, whether in the diaspora. In fact, I'm very encouraged to see that the matches in the US. I think that presents a unique opportunity for diaspora engagement in a way that we probably have not considered before. And so for me, I hope to be able to just help tell our story in a way that will resonate more profoundly and more meaningfully in the minds of West Indians.
Yeah, and I love when I asked the question, you instantly said, 1 year is short, because I felt the same way. I'm like, they expect these women to make an impact in 1 year. Do you think, Louise, that it's enough to achieve what you set out to do? And do you think if you do good work, there's the opportunity for you to be reappointed?
There's always an opportunity. Okay. I think because the independent directors are appointed by the president. And so I trust that with President Shallow placing his confidence in me to be able to live up to that, but also, think beyond a more sustainable way to be able to contribute. I think like with anything else, there are some boards that always re-examine the tenure of their board as well as the senior leadership. I'm not sure if that is something that would be up for discussion. Of course, that is very bylaws, framework, and concentrated. But I think that who knows, that may just be part of the strategic direction for reconsideration. But again, that is totally entirely up to the full board to decide of what, first of all, implementation of that could look like. But I think if we are to move in that direction, as well as what does talent retention or talent attraction look like in that regard, especially at the executive and operational level. so many things to consider. But like I said, I'm excited about the opportunity. For me, this being the first, it's also going to be quite the learning curve in terms of that environment. However, like I said, looking to draw on my previous governance experiences to be able to, help it to allow it to lead me, but also remain open to the possibilities of um, learning more and contributing more.
You serve in a different capacity. You serve as the director of St. Lucia Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture, which means, that's a big portfolio as well. Do you think there are skills that you have learned in this role that you can apply to this new CWI role?
Yeah, there are so many skills that are transferable, but more specifically, even in my corporate role as a corporate affairs manager, the roles of public affairs, of public relations, of stakeholder management, those are skill sets that are easily transferable when existing or operating in an organization like Cricket West Indies with such a global landscape. I guess fortunately for me as well, my professional experience also lends to that, working with global brands. So definitely, but I think even more so in terms of people management and leadership, some of those soft skills that we tend to overlook.
Yeah.
I think those can be so powerful in terms of how we connect or reconnect with fans, with local cricket organizations, and sometimes we forget that the simple presence, as opposed to maybe an email, makes all the difference in communicating with one type of audience. Again, going back to understanding the psyche of who you're engaging with.
Yeah, so important. You say that, and I think about it, the impact that you can have by just being there in person, as you said, versus a phone call. It brings that human touch, that human nature that we all as people long for. The other question, and this might be a tough one, especially because you've just recently been appointed to the role, but how pleased are you with the strides that this current Cricket West Indies administration have been making? Are you pleased? Are you not?
It's inspiring. I think for one who has, having been born into the game, I did have a period where I felt like I had disconnected with the organization, with the teams, because it was just so much disappointment for a certain period. But I think it's almost as if it's a new horizon, and it feels encouraging, it feels inspiring, and I think it also gives hope. So I think quite apart from the administration, but I think in terms of even this move from a governance perspective also makes me feel hopeful as a West Indian.
Yeah, and are there any areas in particular, Louise, that you can pinpoint you'd want to see improvement in with the time that you have to do your thing?
I think there are, the topic, a debate is that have we allowed the commercialization of limited overs format of the game, take over the grassroots, the technical development of cricket.
Yeah.
I think it's debatable. As with anything else, things will evolve, and it's a matter of balancing tradition versus culture. Culture is ever evolving. Tradition are some of those things that keep you grounded. I think it's a matter of striking the balance, because there is also, if you want to be able to attract the right investment, that means that you need to be commercially ready and commercially exportable to be able to have those conversations, particularly at a global level. And so I think there's also an opportunity for us to probably refine what we want sports tourism around cricket to look like, outside of World Cup. But what are the other opportunities, even from a grassroots level? So even in St. Lucia right now, we have the T10 community tournament going on. And it's, for me as a St. Lucian, it's inspiring to see grassroots cricket given that prominence in terms of even media coverage or live media coverage of the games and whatnot. So I think it's a matter of being able to find the connections along the way, but also not be too far left or right of the scale that we miss opportunities.
Yeah, that's so key, and that grassroots development program so important if we want to ensure that the future of West Indies cricket is a successful one. So another tough one, you have not been here on the board then, but I still have to ask you, how do you feel about the fact that there have been several proposals about government reform in CWI? Only last month, again, you were not there, the board voted to reject a lot of the proposals from the Dunn-Webby report. Your thoughts on that?
Definitely a tough one, because again, for me, coming from the public affairs background, I totally understand the value of engaging all of your stakeholders.
Yes.
But again, are we looking at or were the recommendations taken with that full lens of, okay, understanding what is government's role? Are they an ally or are they an opposer?
Yeah.
So I think it's about understanding the relationships that you have with government in the various territories, but also as Cricket West Indies, to determine how you act on that. If it is not a favorable relationship, then there are strategies that you can deploy to be able to turn around a relationship in your interest or in your benefit. Again, it can be painstaking, but I think it's a matter of being able to, again, strike the balance of what do we want out of a particular relationship, or based on a strategic direction. If the government has a role and it is a critical one, then how do we get there? If it is not one that is necessarily extremely substantiated, then there could still be value in that. And so how do you engage them regardless? Yeah. I think there are also strategies to be able to move from someone that you may have a non-existent relationship with, to be able to steadily convert it into one that this person becomes your biggest ally or protagonist.
Yeah. Well, Louise, you're saying all the right things. You've just been put into this position, and I'm looking forward to see the developments, because we've been seeing a lot of developments as of recent where Cricket West Indies is concerned. I'm wishing you all the best, but we're going to turn now to the lighter part of this interview. It's where I get to know you, and it's called Rapid Fire Time, right? It's my favorite segment. So I'll ask you a question, and you say the first word or phrase that comes to mind. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. Football or cricket?
Both.
Oh, you like...
I'm a Man U fan. I'm so sorry. I'm a Man U fan.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
Okay. In this instance, cricket.
Okay. But I'm sorry that you're a Manchester United fan, but that's a topic for another day.
Totally.
All right. The best part about being a St. Lucian?
The best part of being St. Lucian, a good time.
Right. St. Lucians love to have a good time. Now, this one, your favorite St. Lucian dish?
Avocado and farine with roasted sardines.
I don't know what that is, but you had me at avocado. That sounded so good.
Yes.
Night in or night out?
Night in.
Are you a T20 girl or an ODI girl?
I'm an ODI girl.
Oh, you like the longer format. Good.
I like longer formats, yeah. Because there's the short format, I'm always like, oh, I want more. I love the thrill of it. But I have a very fond memory of attending my very first ODI with my dad.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm an ODI girl.
Yeah. If you had to live in another Caribbean country besides St. Lucia, where would it be?
Trinidad.
I'm a Trini, just saying, in case you didn't pick that up.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, wow.
Just so I don't have to travel for Carnival and I could just be right there in the heart of it from very early in the season.
I love that answer. Best answer ever. So, the next one.
Lost Tribe is my band.
One country you have not visited and would love to visit?
Turkey.
Ooh, interesting. That's an interesting one. What about reading a book or scrolling on social media?
Definitely a book.
Well, those were some exciting questions, and I loved your responses. We're going to head across now to social media just to see what's been trending, and I have a feeling it's going to be one that you will like. Social media? So the West Indies women, I'm so happy about this, Louise. A series sweep. And of course, you know, we mentioned it a bit earlier, the West Indies winning 3-0. Hayley Matthews continues to dominate. The number 77 is my sister, Karishma Ramharak. She's one of the bowlers. Then we had Stephanie Taylor from Jamaica stepping up. A lot of the ladies doing well. Any reaction to what the women have done?
I was like, go girls, like, I mean, this is my very conservative reaction during cricket. But definitely, I could be very fired up. I will, in fact, my reaction to our last winning of the men's World Cup.
Yeah.
I screamed so much. I ended up on the lawn. I was just rolling in the grass, and my dad had to come pick me up and just shake me like, get a hold of yourself. So I'm going to leave that there.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just like, go girls. Let's get it.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
Of course, and they've been making us so proud. So when the appointments were made, there were 2 voice notes that were sent on the SportsMax zone. And they're from viewers, and they were reacting to, of course, the directors being appointed. I'm going to play them for you, and then I'll take your reactions. So let's take the first voice note.
You know, I'm in for that. I think it's a good thing. I think West Indies cricket board and the cricket team, the colors, it's a brand. And I think that the women will work very well in building that brand, both on the financial side and the talented side for the players themselves. And I think it's a good look. Let us see what happens. I wish them all the best. Congrats to these 3 ladies. I think it's a good look.
Let's take the next one. We have one more.
Good afternoon, SportsMax. Kun Tyson from Sweet TNT. It's definitely a forward step for Cricket West Indies, so I must congratulate them, applaud them for appointing 3 women. Going forward, I hope that they would also appoint persons with disabilities also to reflect diversity. Thank you very much.
All right, Louise. So viewers, they're all for it. We didn't get any negative reactions. What do you have to say about the 2 voice notes?
Well, I'm grateful that we have been received with such open arms. The feedback in St. Lucia in itself was overwhelmingly positive. In fact, it's almost like it just went viral, and it felt like it was a victory for St. Lucia based on just some of the reactions. I'm fully aligned on the aspect of persons with disabilities. Again, we know that within sports there are competitions and spaces for persons with disabilities to be able to compete. And so if we intend on advancing the sport, then is there scope for that in that regard? And more specifically, we do see that there is increasingly funding for such diversity representation type of moves, whether in sports or otherwise. So I believe that it's something that we can potentially explore. Even in St. Lucia, I know we have a very active organization for persons with disabilities, very strong advocacy there. And I think it's a stakeholder group that we can never underappreciate or undervalue.
Louise, you know, I had a good time chatting with you. Really love all the plans that you have. I'm wishing you all the best in this new role, and hopefully I'll run into you at one of the cricket matches very, very soon.
Indeed, I thoroughly enjoyed speaking with you as well, and we shall meet up at some point.
All right, well, viewers, that's a wrap for this week's episode of In Case You Missed It. Be sure to like, share, and comment, and let me know how much you enjoyed today's interview. Goodbye for now.